This DJ controller was developed in partnership with Laidback Luke. It can control up to 4 decks using DJ Pro from Algorithm with Neural Mix and Crossfader Fusion. More on that later. It plugs straight into your iPad or phone and has 10 times the functionality of a pair of Pioneer CDJs, usually found in DJ booths worldwide. But why should you consider buying this $500 controller, and who is it designed for? We're about to dive deep and answer all those important questions. Okay, first things first. Laidback Luke is a household name in the DJ game and is known for championing new technology. He's been in the game a long time and is always trying to utilize the latest technology in his DJ sets, something we love as educators. He's partnered with Reloop on this Mixtour Pro to create his ultimate setup. He even used it for his recent Tomorrowland sets, showing how this small unit is capable of handling some of the biggest stages. Right off the bat, here are some of the key things you need to know. It costs just shy of $500 or £400 here in the UK. This price takes it away from the real entry-level controller market, but it is cheap if you want to commit to this as your main DJ setup. I'm most impressed by its build quality and its feel, which I don't think the images really do justice. No, it doesn't have jog wheels, and it is intended to be used as the primary DJ unit by itself. This means you need to be a DJ who wants to use sync when mixing. There are manual controls, but they're really not designed for that. It's got a USB-C port with 85 kilowatt pass-through to connect to a power source and charge your device simultaneously. And it's also bus powered. It works across most devices, as DJ Pro is available for mobile, iPad, and desktop for both Windows and Mac. This also means you have access to millions of songs through streaming partners like Apple Music, Tidal, Beatport, BeatSource, and SoundCloud Go. The integrated 4-out USB interface with Cirrus Logic DA converters ensures 24-bit sound with low latency, so your mixes come through crystal clear. Right, let's get stuck into the walkthrough so we can highlight the functionality of this small powerhouse. So the Reloop Mixtour Pro basically looks like a tiny DJ mixer with loads of performance features embedded within the mixer. You'll see there aren't any jog wheels. It's not a traditional DJ setup. So this is really about programming your sets and utilizing these performance features with a programmed set, making sure your grids are all correct and that you know kind of what you're going to be mixing, because there's a lot of layers to this and there's a lot of functionality built in within this to make it a pro unit, but it's quite a learning curve to get used to where all those layers are. So let's run through some of the key basics to start with. Right, on this unit, you've got your standard up faders, which feel nice, and crossfader, which also feels quite nice. There's a nice bit of tension on the up faders. You've got transport controls here with the Q and the play button, which are basically rubber pads, but they've got a nice click to them and they feel good. Above that, we've got the sync controls to sync the decks together. And then we've got this in, out, and exit of the loop. This is a Laidback Luke feature that was added, so we can easily tap this on, tap again, and set a loop. Press it again to exit, as simple as that. Moving up, we have our traditional EQ controls, but these also double up as neural mix controls, which ultimately allows you to fade in and out the drums, the harmonics, and the vocals with these EQs, and you can toggle between having this on or off. So for example, if I've got this track playing now, I can take the drums out, the harmonics, or the vocals if there were any vocals, like this. But we can easily toggle this off and just use standard EQ controls. So it's really nice to have access to those two layers very easily. At the top, we have the standard trim controls or gain controls to boost the volume of individual channels. And then below that, we have our traditional low pass filter, high pass filter, which sounds really nice. As far as the browse controls go, we can simply turn this pot here and scroll through our library, load songs in by clicking the load, just like that. It's a 4-deck mixer, but I would say be careful because there are only 2 channels. To access the 3rd and 4th decks, you hold this mode button and press this, and you'll see that it goes red, and then that means we're on deck 3. And if we were to scroll through and load something, it would load it to deck 3. And now we're controlling deck 3. If I press this again and press load, it toggles off. It's one of those controllers where it layers the deck underneath, so you'd have to bring the fader back down and bring it back up. For all intents and purposes, I'd say it's very complex and you'll get very lost very quickly using this as a full 4-deck mixer, but it can be done. Now you'll see that the equipment has lots of different labels on it. When it's in a grey box like this where it says pitch bend or key match or auto loop, that's a shift function. And we can hold the shift button here and access any of the features in those grey boxes. When there's got these 2 arrows sort of pointing up to the right and down to the left, this is a mode button function. So we hold mode and then we can toggle between the different modes such as hot cue, bounce loop, pitch cue. There's even some hidden features where we hold both the shift and the mode to access stuff that's not even labeled, which I'll talk about shortly. First of all though, you'll see that underneath the transport controls, we have key match, so we can lock the keys of the 2 songs together. We have auto loop, so if a track's playing, we can automatically loop it, and that will be set to whatever's determined here on the loop controls. And then we can undo it by just pressing exit. We also have pitch bend, so you can manually nudge the track faster and slower if you were doing some manual beat matching. And that's the same for both the left and right side. We also have underneath the headphone cues here, the crossfader effects. Now this is cool for mixing between tracks. If I mix across here and press play, and it applies a crossfader effect. You can see the different crossfader effects by tapping here on the screen, and there's loads to choose from, and this is something quite unique for DJ Pro, especially all the different options that you have here. And that's how you would toggle that on and off, is underneath that headphone there. Then in this section, we have the effects controls. So these are traditional paddle style effects. So if you hold it down, you can see this is flashing. It means that the effect is active. The effects can be seen here on the screen. It says echo out. So currently, if I were to hold this, put this full, we get the echo out. Or I can just lock it on. And then we can choose between loads of different effects, and there are a lot in DJ Pro, by holding the mode button and then using these parameter buttons here. And we can toggle between the different effects that we have, such as tape echo. We can change the level, the dry wet. And then we can change the percentage, or if it was a different style effect, the beat fraction. So if I go to ping pong delay, we can then do that as 3/4 or a half, for example. So really tactile, really intuitive to apply the effects both for the left and the right. And it's nice to have those mode functions to toggle between the different effects and then change the parameters with ease there. Because Laidback Luke had a hand in developing this, he hid some functionality within here that is like another secondary layer, things that he uses a lot. So let's run through what some of those things are. First, if a track's playing and we hold shift and bring the paddle down, we get this backspin, which is good for the end of your transitions, something that can be accessed at any point. Then a lot of the other stuff is if we hold mode and shift, we can do some extra functionality, in particular under the transport controls. So if I hold both of these buttons, to do some changing of the BPM, we can use these two, the play and the cue button. To toggle up, you'll see the percentage and the BPM going up on the display and back down again. And that's a good way of manually adjusting the BPM during your mix. Laidback Luke's also added some functionality to do with looping hidden under here. So if we've got a loop set, for example, like this, we can hold the mode and the shift button and we can change the in or the out point, or we can just hold the mode button and half it, double it, and that works on both sides. Or we can keep holding the mode button and then use this to change the out point. And you can control the looping to a further degree just with that extra functionality that Laidback Luke's added there. Now finally moving into the performance pads. Something to be aware of here is we have the option to either split the performance pads so that the left 4 work on the left-hand side of the unit and the right 4 work on the right-hand side. So for example, this would be the hot cue on this track on the left. This is the hot cue for the track on the right. Then if we were to wanting to change the mode for either or, we can hold the mode button for that individual side and then toggle between hot cue, bounce loop, pitch cue, instant effects, auto loop, sampler, saved loops, and neural mix. Now bear in mind, if I was on bounce loop, for example, you'll see that this side is now a different color. And and it's doing the bounce loop functionality, but on the other side, we've still got hot cues. Or you can choose to basically have all 8 pads dedicated to one side or the other, and we simply just hit the mode button. Now I'm in bounce loop. If I go back to hot cue, you'll see we've got all on that same song on the left-hand side. So you have that option to split them or use them individually on each side, and you can split which performance pad, if it is in split mode, whether you've got, let's say sampler on the left-hand side and bounce loop on the right-hand side, and it's as simple as that. Go back to hot cue on both sides. Now, let's just run through what these different performance modes are. You've seen hot cue. Bounce loop is like a roll. So if I hold bounce loop, pitch cue, you can choose a cue and then you can pitch the track up and down. If I go into that mode fully, then we have instant effects. And then we have auto loops, which goes all the way from 32 beats down to a quarter beat. We have sampler, which plays different files, although it's saying that they don't exist on my iPad, but that's where you could load samples in there. Saved loops, if you've got any saved loops, you can activate them here. And then neural mix, where you can toggle off the different vocals, harmonics, and drums. Let's go back to hot cue and then split it. Now, the beauty of this unit is that it really brings to life the power of DJ Pro by Algorithm, because there's so much functionality within the screen here, but having so many touch layers and pads on the actual screen can definitely be overwhelming. So bringing that onto some hardware, even if they are tucked away under various modes, it is a really nice tactile unit that, with a bit of practice to build up muscle memory, you can really perform some cool stuff with this. I've had some fun with it, and you can check out my mix where I've tried to put it through its paces. Bearing in mind, I haven't had it that long, but I've tried to put it through its paces and do something fun with it. So make sure you check that out as well. Now, I personally think this is for those DJs who want to commit to DJ Pro by Algorithm. They love the software and they want to bring more hardware functionality. The fact that it's portable and you can take it easily to DJ booths and get a high quality output, access so much functionality is impressive. The one thing I will say is it's called Mixtour Pro, but can you really call it a pro unit when you have to still connect to some DJ mixer in the club? It's unlikely you're going to plug this directly into a huge sound system. It's not going to happen. So you're still going to use your RCA outs to go into like a Pioneer DJ mixer that's already located in the club. So that's just something to bear in mind. It's also, super compact and portable, which is great for those event DJs, anyone who wants that extra unit to kind of be in any environment really, to just plug in and get set up, and small little booths if you're an event DJ and you can still perform well with. It's definitely not for those real open format DJs that want to mix between genres all the time and cross between lots of different BPMs. I think you'll find there are limitations just because you don't have your pitch adjust, actual physical, slider on there. You don't have the jog wheels, which are those things that really make mixing between genres more fun and engaging and a bit more tactile when it comes to mixing. If you're a total beginner DJ and you're thinking about this as your first piece of equipment, just bear in mind that you will build up that muscle memory, but if you ever decide to move to something else, there's definitely a learning curve that will have to happen, and you will have to then get familiar with something else. So this is definitely one of those pieces of equipment that you kind of commit to and build up muscle memory around, and then you can really utilize it to its full potential. For me, who's used to the traditional layout with jog wheels and sort of a more traditional setup, it was a bit of a learning curve to get used to, but I have had a lot of fun playing with it, and I really enjoyed putting the mix together. I think it's slightly on the pricier side, but I understand why, because the build quality is fantastic, it feels great, and it's got so much functionality within there that I do understand the price. It's just, it is a bit of an investment. So you're making a commitment. It's not just a purchase you'll make on a whim as a backup device. You're kind of like I want to use this unit and I'm going to invest in it, which is fine. I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and I'll see you in another review video very soon.